Peace, peace, peace. What's up, family? Yep. So it's Black History Month, and I actually just wanted to say a few things right quick. A lot of times, we give a lot of praises and props to all the ancestors who are worldly renowned and things of that nature. And man, I love it. If it wasn't for the Honorable Malcolm X, uh, if it wasn't for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if it wasn't for the Honorable Marcus Garvey, if it wasn't for Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and Dr. Francis Cress Wells and then Dr. Patricia Newton and Dr. Africa, if it was for oh, okay, my camera. Yeah, if it wasn't for uh, a lot of these people have gone to the ancestors and all speaks. A lot of these people, I wouldn't been able to do the things that I've been able to do in the community for the last 30 years that we've been doing things. So I just wanted to say that, you look at things, y'all know that, I'm a barber for a living. I'm a master barber for a living. And one of the things that I do is try to, live what it is that I'm saying. So 30 years ago, uh, I've lived this, man. I remember learning about history and knowledge, and I'm like, man, we gotta get our own black businesses. We gotta do this, we gotta do that, we gotta organize. And one of my brothers said, he said, man, you ain't got no business. And I was like, you're right, you're correct. And so I went and then I started my own business. Um, and I was like, man, I gotta show people if I'm gonna talk about it, then I gotta be able to do it. So saying all that to say that, uh, there's a lot of people who helped me in my journey in general, and just to give a little history about um, what it is and how I got into this right here. Many of you don't know that when I got out of high school, I was about to become a policeman. Yeah, Baltimore City finest. And I was going to do that, going to the cadet program, and we were actually into the program, and we were into the steps and the processes. Midway through, in between, we come one day coming to the cadet program, and they sit us down and say, "The program is over. It's done." I say, "Wow." Uh, During that time, they said, "Well, look, we're gonna call you back. We're gonna fight for it. We look something about the funding or whatever." So I said, "All right." So during that time, I would watch and babysit my sister Patrice, my sister Lisa, their children at the time, their little baby girls, and help out with their sons. I would pick Elisa's. I would pick my nephews up from school, Donna and Eric, and then I would watch Imani and Shanice during the day. And I did this for a little while. It was about maybe for I don't know if it was a year. I don't think it was a year that I did this somewhere around that time frame, but I did watch them, and help out during those times. Might have been a year. And while I was waiting for this process to go through, in the midst of that, there was this movie Malcolm X 2-part VHS. My brother-in-law would always have all of the so-called black market films, and I didn't want to watch it because it was too long. It was just too long. It's two tapes. I'm like, man, I'm not watching that. But I watched everything else. And when the children would take naps, I would always watch the movies. So finally, I watched this Malcolm X. Watched that, and it changed my life. Like I wanted to be Malcolm X, Spike Lee. I know a lot of people give him a lot of flack for that movie, but for me, it was an eye opener as it was for a whole lot of other people too. And I wanted to be like Malcolm X, so I started to, um, from there, kind of just start to study, and that kind of changed my life. Uh, Reading, studying, being inspired to do certain things. But what I come to realize, I was inspired by a lot of these people, from, like you said, from Minister Malcolm X, the Heisman, Al Shabazz. I was inspired by a lot of these people, Khaled Abdul Muhammad, people that's still in our midst today, Sister Soldiers, too many names to remember for me to try to remember right now, but we've done over some 200 something lectures here in Baltimore in general. And the thing is that I was inspired by these people. They inspire every time I heard more information. I had to get this out to the people. I had to get this knowledge out to our people. I got to. We got to organize. We got to do. And whenever I hear it, it's like we have to do this. Um, and a lot of times, even with history, like I've been in business with Conscious Heads for it'll be 26 years this year that we've been here. And I was talking to a young man the other day when I was going through Giants, and he asked me, the young man about 21. He said, "Well, how did you get your, he said, did you go to college?" I said, "No, I didn't go to college." He said, "Well," I said, "Well, I own a business." He said, "Oh, all right, what kind of business you got?" I said, "A barbershop." He said, "Well, how did you get your funding?" I said, I said, "Man, I mean, I've been asked that question before, but I don't know. For some reason, it was just like, it kind of baffled me a little bit. You know what I mean? But I was like, I had to think, like, yeah, I got it from my family. I got everything I needed from my family. I couldn't get a bank loan. Didn't qualify. I didn't have everything I need for a bank loan. But my family, man, like, and I got to give credit to everybody in my family that helped out. I'm talking about from my grandma, your grandma Onis, my mom's mom, uh, from my uncle Lamont, who basically built up the whole shop, and built pretty much everything in there in general. My dad, who did, what I mean, like all of the plumbing work and lots of other things that he did in there. My uncle Daryl, who came in and contributed, did a whole lot of other work in the shop. We had a lot of people from the community, and of course, my mom. You know what I'm saying, one of the key number one finances in the shop. And the community, gave a lot of money, and my brothers who started the shop with me, brother Dennis and brother Suniata, of course, what I'm saying, funds came in from there because we were business partners there, what I'm saying. But that's the basic ways that we came up with the money to actually do this, to do this venture and all, what I mean. So, but a lot of my family members, came in and they helped out with this whole process. The second thing is, I was thinking about, a lot of times people ask me, how did I get into barbering? How did you start barbering? I would always get a story about a guy named Brian when I was in the seventh grade, um, who used to cut hair. And I said, "Man, I mean," and I was like, "Man, I want to cut hair." He would come in there, people were like, "Who cut your hair?" And he would cut other people's hair around the neighborhood. And for some reason, I got inspired. I wanted to cut hair, but I got to take it back a step further because seeds are dropped. We drop seeds on our children all the time. We raising our children. You never know what they're gonna take to. And me and my mother used to have a joke because she actually used to cut hair. My grandfather, Charles Reynolds, thought that my mother was the best thing that ever walked the earth, one of the best people that ever walked the earth. It could do anything. So he would have her with clippers, and he would bring his brothers over. He had like 8 brothers, probably less during that time. But he would bring them over like, "Hey, China." They call my mom, they called her China also. "China, cut your hair. Come on over. China, cut your hair." And I remember watching my mother cut hair, and she would do it often. She cut my hair. Not to say that I really like when she cut it, you know what I'm saying? But I ain't really know what the like. I mean, she wasn't getting me fresh like Lil Jabari Teray, but laying the foundation and laying the seeds. My mother was a big part of, uh, you know, uh, my barbering career. Those seeds were dropped there. And I would say also, mom was a big part of my entrepreneurial spirit, not just all of the, what I mean, because all the seeds were laid by me watching my parents early on. And then they were, furthermore cultivated by minister, brother Malcolm X and the Nation of Islam and the Black Panthers, and, anything else that would, help to strengthen my mind of the things that I want to do. And I got some from everywhere, every place and all. But my mom used to do like these dinners and stuff, fish fries, and she would do like little cabarets, and she would do different things that she would always be trying to make money, what I mean, and trying to yeah, make things happen. So that was always in her spirit. She always did that, a lot. She did that a whole lot. And I think I take that off because I think I am actually blinding people with those little things in there. You know what I mean? But I always did all the way through so far now. But anyway, um, yeah, she would always be trying to make money. She would do little festivals and different things. She would do baskets and raffle off baskets, and she did a Black Love Bowl at Sojourner Douglas College. You know what I'm saying? I remember that she did actually with my uncle, but she was always coming up with these different things and different ways to make money. My mother was, and a lot she got from her mother. And I had to go come in and go back with my grandparents and get some more history on them about some of the things that they would do because they definitely were hustlers also. But this is about mom and dad really primarily, and let me just say, um, as I talk about my mom and dad, it's a beautiful picture of them right here. And they just smile. When I get up in the morning, man, this is my screen. This is the first faces that I see on my phone in the morning. And I see my mom and dad. Ain't nothing like that, man. Happy, smiling. That was them going to the prom. And probably couldn't tell them nothing back then, you know what I'm saying? But when I see them faces smiling at me in the morning, they give me meaning. They give me that push that I need a lot of times to get up out that bed and move forward. But yeah, so mom, and a lot of even the black consciousness, mom laid the foundation because she would look at people like Dr. Ben and all. She was always talking about, man, why do they got so many white people in their videos? Why they got them hot yellow girls in the video? Not that she cared about, but she was always saying that, that they wouldn't want regular chocolate women, black women, or in the movies or in the videos and all. To the point where one time I asked my mother, and tripping, we would always talk about this later down the line. I was like, "Mom, are you racist?" Imagine me asking my mother that. And so I would ask her like little different things, that nature. But mom was always kind of had this black conscious thing going on during that time. So those seeds were laid kind of early. She said, always go and seek the truth. Always go and find the truth. There's a lot of stuff out there, Malcolm X and different folks. You gotta understand them and you gotta study them, right? So that's mom, and I'll probably revisit that a little bit. Now let's talk about my dad because Mr. Larry McDaniel, or what they would call a lot of my aunts and cousins and folks will call him Wowie. you know. My dad, my mother always said that what inspired her about my father was that they were married for 11 years. They did 11 years. And what inspired her about him was that he was a hustler, that he was about getting it. Like he had a car, got a car like I think in the 12th grade or so. And he would go and he would, go to the market. He could cook, he would cut fish up and he was just always willing to work. He was always at it, always at it. And so my father was a mechanic. He was a great mechanic coming up. And, in the backyard where I live now, they say he would have that alley, people lined up coming up there with cars, trying to get their cars fixed by him. You know what I'm saying? It's entrepreneurial spirit. He would also, even in the house, we got very small rooms in my house, but he would rent those rooms out, you know, to make more income. Always, even when he got a little older and became a master plumber, he would, always have side hustles, always going out, doing some kind of side jobs. It could be home improvement, things of that nature, And one of my cousin, uh my cousin, I would say Poopy, uh um he actually brought that to my attention really one day and was like, man, this ain't start with you. Sometimes you think that you just the person that that came up with a lot of the stuff, and you gotta think sometimes like, wait a minute, you know he is right about that. He said, him and my grandfather, uh would be out working on cars and doing certain things. So man, we got to go back as we talk about black history, and we have to give props and praises to our parents and just see what possibly helped to shape your life and what you're doing right now in general. As you see a picture of me, mom and dad right here, so these are my black history heroes right here. Two of my black history heroes that I got to go back to because they helped to shape my life. they helped to shape my life, and um, both would eventually, um, as you would call, uh, leave me with a legacy. Leave me with a legacy to be able to build on and generate in general for our people. Man, I mean, my dad taught me the basis of how to cook. Even though I learned some stuff from mom and my grandmother, but I learned the majority of that from my dad. My dad was a great pops could cook. He could fire it up. Like, I mean, fish. You know what I'm saying? I know many of y'all, I ain't ate pork in 30 years, but when I did eat pork, man, my pops make a chitlin, hog maws, and all that other kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And man, he would do it. Um, whatever kind of dish you talking about. My dad was like a perfect person. So I call myself, I say I cook a little bit, but when you start mentioning my dad's name, I fall to the background because I was I was under him with that. So, like I said, I'm honoring um my mom and dad. They will also give me generational wealth as they would leave properties to me in my name. And that's the got to experience that through mom and dad. Generational wealth, yes, in general. So my greatest heroes, I look at them, everything wasn't perfect all the time, but I thank the creator, for, I guess, me being able to choose my mom and dad. They were a great couple to have. And although they had their problems, they, separated when I was 5 years old, you know, and that was painful for me, very painful for me. Uh, but sometimes things happen. And, I was thinking today, strangely as it is, because I go for my knees, I get therapy for my knees, and, I go to, called the Sinai Hospital, and mom and dad both passed away at Sinai Hospital. I find that crazy that they both passed away at the same hospital. I was there in the hospital with both of them. My dad more so. He was alive when he got to the hospital, because he pretty much died the same, within hours of him collapsing. But my mom, who had been going through and recovering, from a stroke, and got into the rehabilitation home, and then had to be rushed to Sinai, and she was there for 30 days before she passed away. But I would hold her hand there when she actually passed away. So so when I go there, I'm going there, like, and this is the month right here, February. Mom passed away in February, February 27th. It'd be 3 years. So just wanted to, what I mean, not to just go into all of that, but to let the world know that, man, I've been blessed and I've been taught by some of the best people. And I'm just talking about mom and dad. Now I'm gonna go back to many other people in my history, but I wanted to really focus on them and just give y'all a rundown. They have really given me a lot of wisdom and knowledge, and not as close to my dad as I was with my mom. Of course, hardly nobody is, but some people are. You know what I mean? But that man was in my life, and I love him. I love dad. My mama, Lord, y'all know that was straight guardian angel, but she had a lot of skills, and y'all wonder why Jabari is Jabari and why I act the way that I act. She made sure she loved the stuff that I did. She loved the lectures. She loved coming out to the community events. She loved those different things. So, brothers and sisters, happy Black History Month. But, make Black history a way of life. That's what we should be doing. That's what I was able to do with certain things, and praying for the best for all of us here in Hotep, and peace.